Ms. Latoya, what do you see?
I can see you.
Can you see the sponsor?
No, we can't see the screen. There it is.
All right, cool. I like to do that first so we can make sure we continue to get paid.
Got you.
All right. You look a little tired. I know. Me too. I'm gonna get you here so we can go. You might run some trouble for you tired. We'll work with you. All right. So how's everybody doing? Everybody good? Cool. Well, I am again so excited about having one of the experts in the field come and talk with us. My good friend Aaron Aldrich, been knowing him for a while. Just an awesome banker, awesome person, just like to help. I'm gonna read his bio real quick, and I'm gonna change the thing, and I'm gonna let him do what he do. So Aaron S. Aldrich, Northwest Bank, is a senior SBA Business Development Officer for Northwest Bank in the Pittsburgh region. He has 19 years of experience in the financial services industry. As an SBA Business Development Officer, he is a subject matter expert for all lending solutions offered by the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration by the government. He works closely with business owners and bank partners to provide funding recommendations and to be a resource for all SBA financing needs. Before accepting this role, he was the Director of Lending Strategy at Bridgeway Capital, where he honed his skills for structuring creative financing solutions for small businesses. In prior roles, he worked as a branch manager and an award-winning producer at National City and PNC Bank. Aaron's service commitment includes board leadership roles for the Northside Christian Health Center, the Penn Hills Charter School for Entrepreneurship, and Chatham Women's Business Center Advisory Committee. Aaron also was honored by the New Pittsburgh Courier as a 2019 Men of Excellence awardee. He received his BA in Economics from the University of Pittsburgh and his MBA in Business Administration from Point Park University. And so we have him coming up today, but again, I just want to say, you know, my job is to bring the people in here for you to know, so that you can begin to build your team. And here is a young man that is all about team building, all about helping on whatever level. So give him your undivided attention. If you have any questions, just ask away and make sure you get your questions answered today, and make sure you get his information so that you can connect with him after this. So my man, Aaron Aldrich.
Thank you, Gordon. I appreciate the introduction. And while he pulls up the presentation, just curious to the audience, is everyone in here a business owner or aspiring business owner? Maybe raise your hand if you're currently a business owner. Most of the room, and everyone else, I'm assuming, is looking to start or buy a business. Yeah.
I'm a nonprofit.
You're a nonprofit? Okay, that's in business. Unfortunately, with SBA, we can't help, but there's definitely, if you were looking for financing, but there's definitely other lenders out there that can. Bridgeway Capital, yeah. I was with Bridgeway for 2000 to 11 years, about 10 and a half, 11 years at Bridgeway before coming to Northwest this in June of 2023. So coming up on about a year at Northwest Bank is SBA list. And Should have, hopefully, I ain't counting my followers, I should have enough for everybody. If not, if you send this out, my contact info is on there too. That goes out at the end. Awesome, thank you, yeah.
Not moving.
Nope. Generally, I just use the arrows. So when I click that, it means,
One of them days.
let's see, figure it out. That worked?
Yeah.
All right, that worked. So we'll talk about,
We do have someone online, so it's,
can they see me or they just see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna talk about SBA lending. If you have any questions in general, I'm very informal. Can you please stop and ask the question? If it's even, unrelated kind of SBA lending, maybe my background is Bridgeway Capital, I'd be able to answer some questions for you, but in general, as a small business owner, if you're looking to grow your small business, at some point, you're probably looking for some sort of funding. And there's a number of different sources of funds that are available to you, whether it's SBA lending or community development lending, like what Bridgeway offers, or conventional bank financing, or family and friends. There's also like a Kiva loan and other crowdfunding sources. So the business owner, you want to think about, whatever your goals are, how can financing or raising funds help you to reach those goals? And then you want to kind of understand of what's available to you and what's the best fit for you. So I'll talk about some of the benefits of SBA lending. And we'll also talk about some of the challenges of SBA lending. So you'll kind of have this tool in your tool belt, whereas you're looking to grow your business, you'll know if SBA lending would be a good option for you. SBA lending, a lot of times it's going to be something that if you're unable to get conventional financing, that would be an option for you. Traditional banks, a lot of times, or mostly all the time, are looking for a business that has historical cash flow. Meaning you've been in business for at least 3 years, and you've been profitable for at least 3 years, and you can show the bank that you're able to service the debt, that you have the collateral to support the loan, meaning you have, real estate or business assets or something tangible to support the loan, and you have some money to be able to put into the project, generally at least 20% of what your need is. That's what a conventional bank would look for. When something falls out of that, that's when you may look, or the bank may suggest SBA is an option. The Small Business Administration, or the SBA, backs or guarantees our loans. So that's what the 75% is next to 7A. 7A is one of the most popular or most known SBA loans. So this is broken out between SBA 7A and then SBA 7A small loans. The difference is a small loan is less than 500,000. So it starts at 50,000 and goes up to 5 million. Would be the full gamut of SBA 7A, with a small loan being 500,000 or less. And then some of the differences with a small loan, there's like a scoring requirement. That if you meet a certain score, you don't have to go through the full underwriting. That score would be something similar to like a Dynasty or like a Dun & Bradstreet score, if you're familiar with that. So the system will pull that score based upon information that's available. If you hit a certain score level, then you don't have to go through the full underwriting. It's an abbreviated underwriting and eligibility. Generally, 7A loans, one thing to think about is they're going to be variable. So when it says Wall Street Journal +3, That would be like the Wall Street Journal prime rate +3. The prime rate is generated or comes out from the federal government. So they may adjust it, they meet every month. They don't always adjust it though. But if they lower the rate and you have a 7(a) loan, your rate will decrease. If they increase the rate and you have a 7(a) loan, your rate will decrease. So that's what that WSJ +3 quarterly adjusted, and that can happen on a quarterly basis. The Express is 50% guaranteed. That would be less than 500,000. Generally, we use an SBA Express loan. So you can get an SBA term loan and an SBA line of credit. Does everyone know the difference when I say that? Anyone have a question on this? None. So a term loan would be, if you have an auto loan or a car loan, that's a term loan. So every month you're making a fixed payment, or you're making like a payment that's principal and interest. And you get a lump sum of money at closing and you pay it down until it's gone. And you can't pull from it again. A line of credit is like a credit card. So you get a credit line. Let's say it's a $25,000 credit line, and you can draw down from that line of credit. If you make payments to it, you can borrow against it. So with SBA 7(a), we offer term loans and lines of credit. The cap,
Is it based off of, like what you're eligible for?
Yeah.
Or you go for both, then you can apply for both?
Good question. So generally, when we do a term loan, we like to also do a line of credit.
Mhm.
But you can just apply for a line of credit, or you can just apply.
And is that based off of business credit or personal?
We're gonna look at your personal credit, and we're also gonna look at your business financial statements or projections, depending on the status of your business, if you're an existing operating business or a business start. Any other questions on this before I switch? So a business loan can be used for business acquisition. That if you're buying another business, whether that's you as an individual or your business. An expansion would be if you have an existing business that you're growing and, let's say you're in one location and you want to get a second location, or you're in one location, you want to get a bigger location, that can be considered an expansion. We can do startups based on projections. It can be used to purchase real estate or equipment. It can be used to do construction, if anyone's a contractor in the room, or refinance existing debt. The benefits of SBA lending. One benefit would be the term that we offer. If it's a non-real estate loan, we can go out to 10 years. So a lot of times, if you go to a bank and you get an equipment loan, they may say it's a 5 to 7 year loan. With SBA, it's always going to be 10 years. The benefit to you is you have a lesser payment. And you can always pay that off early. If it's a real estate loan, then we can go out to 25 years. And again, a lot of times conventional banks may go real estate loans to 15 or 20 years, or we can use projections and finance against projections. And a lot of times, we will not decline an SBA loan because of a collateral shortfall. So what I mean by that is, if you go to a bank and let's say you're buying real estate for $100,000, or you're applying for a loan for $100,000, the bank wants to see if you have collateral to cover that for them. And if you don't, that could be a reason you don't do the loan. With us, we'll take whatever collateral is available, but we generally won't decline a loan because of the collateral. And we don't require 20% down. Generally, we require 10% down. So you would have less money that you have to put into it. We can consider financing a full project, both soft costs and professional fees. So that would be if you're buying real estate, we can consider financing the cost for like architects, engineers, and all those are considered soft costs. Any questions on anything here? So challenging scenario, I'm glad you put that there. Yes, but that was hard to close it. Because we're looking at projections and because there's a lot of times more risk in the deals that we do, we want to make sure that if one area of the transaction is not as strong as another, that it can be mitigated. So what I mean by that is if we're financing a startup and we're completely basing it off of projections, we want to make sure that you would have experience in the industry, for cash flow, collateral to put into the transaction, but something that helps strengthen the deal. So we're going to take a look at, multiple factors, industry experience, your personal credit score. So I guess what I mean is, if your credit isn't strong, if it's a new startup business, if you don't have industry experience, then you're really presenting a challenge for us to be able to do that deal for you. So this slide talks about Northwest in our position or strength in the market. As I mentioned, I started there about a year ago. Our bank, our SBA team is relatively new. So we have a lot of experience, being that we came from other lending institutions. But because our SBA team is relatively new, we're looking to do a lot of deals that other banks want to. So for like restaurant owners and contractors and hotels, those are a lot of times that if you went to another bank, they wouldn't do it because they're considered high-risk industries, but we'll take a look at it. So we're really looking to build partnerships in the community and work with, like Gordon and looking for our CDC and looking to do a lot of things that a lot of other banks. And we're a smaller bank, but we still have that big bank kind of to back us. So I should say we're a smaller bank, meaning we don't have like a big bill like a PNC or nothing against PNC, but a lot of times you feel like as a small business owner, you're not going to get the service that you would from some of the smaller banks at a larger bank like PNC. So we provide that small bank feel, but we have a large bank backing. Yep.
So, how, this is like percentage of the amount of startup money that you guys actually offer, because you think you gotta have like businesses, like showing that payment coming out, but it's fucking up. And how could you show that? You still try to get it.
Yeah, good question. So it's hard for me to give you like a percentage to say like we approved that's 1% of the startup. But to dig a little deeper into the point I was trying to make there, if you're currently working at a hair salon and now you want to go out and start your own hair salon, you have that industry experience, right? So that's what we would look for. So even if you don't, if you never had your own business, we want to see if you have some industry experience to bring to the table. So that was kind of my point when I made that point there. Another thing is to have reasonable projections. So whether you're, I don't know if you can do business plan and projection in this workshop, or if you go and work with a small business development center or a combination of a couple different places, but just make sure you have good business plan and projection. think through, to make sure you understand your projections so that you're able to talk through it. A lot of times you go to someone and they help put together a projection, and they're really working through it. You want to make sure that you can communicate that to your lender. Talk about your experience, talk about your operational plan, talk about your marketing plan, how you're going to reach your target market. And also within your projections, a lot of times you want to have like a best and worst case scenario. Because those projections, that's all we have to go on. Whatever we're doing in the loan for stuff. Another thing I want to mention, Gordon and I had several conversations about it. We actually, the majority of the deals that I do, majority of the loans on my desk are for business acquisitions. So a lot of times I feel like we're so quick to want to start a business from scratch and do the projections and everything. If you look out in the market in several different places that we can show you the look, there's a lot of businesses that are for sale. Especially as the baby boomers are retiring, and a lot of times nowadays, their children doesn't want anything to do with the business. There's a lot of businesses that are for sale. Where then you can go and buy a business that has a customer base, that has vendors, that has 3-year historical financials, all that already in place. So that if you have that industry experience, I'll use the hair salon again as an example. If you worked at a hair salon now, instead of going to start your own, you go and find a salon, etc. There's ways to do that too, without even really having to come out of your own pocket. So the SBA will allow you, or I should say, will allow the seller to, if they do a seller's loan or a seller's note, we call it, for 10%. 10% is what the SBA requires to put down whenever you're buying a business. So essentially, as an SBA lender, we'll finance 90% of a transaction. If you get a seller that says, yeah, I'll do a seller's note for 10%, they have to go 2 years without receiving a payment. Believe it or not, there's a lot of times, I know maybe your first time hearing it, you're like, does somebody want to do that? But there's a lot of sellers that can do that. There's a lot of reasons why that's the way. But then you don't have to bring 10% to the table. So we could finance you to buy a business. And we want to see that you again have that experience, that you have some money that's kind of saved up, for things that may come up. So it's not like you want to have no money, but you want to buy a business. We do want to see that you have some, we call it liquidity, but you don't have to put that into the transaction. So if you're buying $100,000 business, 10% is 10,000, you don't have to bring $10,000 to the settlement table and be able to acquire that business. You can keep your $10,000 in your checking account for after you buy the business to use for other things.
What the source is, you have land for finding business, land, do they have like a way to filter out those types of options?
Yeah, there's a number of business brokers. So I think Biz Buy Sell is a website that's out there. First Choice Business Brokers. If you Google, if you just think of business brokers, you Google business brokers or businesses for sale. Yep. Business brokers would be they're almost like think of a real estate agent for businesses. So they have a number of business listings. So they have a number of businesses that are listed for sale, and every business broker is going to be a little bit different, just like every real estate agent might be a little bit different. What I mean by that is some are going to be able to provide you a lot of good information, and some maybe not so. So, go out, talk to different business brokers, depending on what you have in mind. And, just say like, want to be kind of, it's better if you're specific. Here's what I'm looking for. It's what I have experience in. This amount is what I'm looking for, the type of size business I want to buy, things like that. And that's always a good thing to keep in mind in general when you're looking for financing. When you come to me or another lender, the more prepared you are, the better. The better that the process is going to be, the quicker we can get through it. If you come to me and say, here's what I need a loan for, here's how much I need, here's my business plan, my projections, or anything else we can ask for. When you have all of that ready, the loan process is going to be a lot simpler. So generally, a loan process could be about a 6 day process. So be prepared for a little bit of a process. It's not like a car loan where you can walk into a car dealership, get a loan, and you're driving the car off the lot the same day. Business loan is more like a mortgage. You want to prepare for 30, 60-day process of us asking questions and digging into the loan application. But the more prepared you are, the better. Now, if you call me and you say, here's what I'm thinking about, or I have this idea, or it's what I'm looking to do, can you assist? You're not ready to apply right then and there, of course, I'll help in any way I can, point you in the right direction. But if you're like, I need a loan, and you're ready to start the process, the more prepared you are for that. I've had people say they wanted a loan, I ask them, how much you looking for? They say, I don't know, how much you think I could get? You gotta then, like, all right, we got some work to do. We gotta dig into what's your need. When you apply for a business loan, you need $50,000. We're going to ask you to break down exactly what you're going to use that $50,000 for. So that's the level of detail. If you're starting a business, say you're going to rent space, and it's an open, it's an empty shell, where you need to build it out. You're going to want to say, all right, I want to need $20,000 for construction. I got, leasehold improvements. I got an estimate from a contractor. I'm going to need $10,000 to buy the furniture, picture, and equipment to put in the space. Then I'm going to need $5,000 for inventory purchase. Then the other $10,000 for working capital, with the table, for things like that. So you really want to break it down into those particular categories. And when you're working on your business plan and projections, those are things that people will help you with, so that you can communicate kind of with that level of detail. What's that? No, that's up to you. So she asked when you buy a business, and you change the name or keep it the same, right? I would say that's completely up to you. If that name demands like brand recognition in the market, I would keep it. If it's, like a staple and people know that name, I would keep, you may have to file a fictitious name. You familiar with what I mean when I say that? So let's just say that there was a business called the Wilkinsburg Market. And I owned it. I owned the Wilkinsburg Market. And let's say my business was Wilkinsburg Market LLC. And now you want to come and buy it. You're going to have to create your own name. So you might create ABCG LLC. So that's going to be like your LLC you form with the state. But because you want to maintain the name Wilkinsburg Market, you want to do business as or DBA, Wilkinsburg Market, you create a fictitious name for that. Those are things you'll file with the state of Pennsylvania. So that's, an example of a way you can buy a business and keep that. Any other questions? Before I'm going to go over this slide, but anything that I said that you want me to break down a little bit more? I don't really have that business acquisition stuff on these slides, but I just wanted to bring it up when we were talking about startups.
Question.
Uh-huh.
What about physical location for the current, what about visual? Are they put a hybrid, like a test business or like a, marketing agency? I'm subscribed to the visual business, prior, always done visual businesses. But I wasn't sure from like SBA standpoint, do you have to put like visual business and like high risk businesses?
No, we would consider, you know, home-based businesses, digital businesses, things like that. Not necessarily they're high risk.
No.
No, I mean, it's definitely, you know, I'm looking at it more in technology businesses.
Yeah.
So she mentioned like SaaS, which is software as a service. So I'm actually looking at one, they're headquartered out of Texas. It's like a SaaS software. So as long as the business owner was running it like a business, not like a hobby, where they could provide financial statements with file tax returns. And you have to do that.
Same process,
Same process. Yep, basically a business acquisition. First thing I do whenever I'm looking at a business for business acquisition is I'll do an analysis to make sure that their business can pay the loan back based upon what they're asking for the business. So if they want to sell their business for $100,000, I'll do a calculation, okay, here's what our loan payment is going to be on $100,000. Or excuse me, okay, $90,000, we find it. And I would want to make sure that their business can pay that loan. That's the first step. Second step is to then do an analysis on, say, you, the one who wants to buy. So looking at your tax return, their personal financial statement in your resume or bio. You're welcome. So on this slide, I just did a snapshot of the application process. So I'm a loan officer. I always want to do the loan. I always want to find a way to make it work. I have to, when I talk to someone, take that file and go give it to someone that's called an underwriter, that's going to look for ways to not do it. So I got to work with you to try and go and convince someone else that we want to do it. Good thing is that this bank are underwriters, we're always on the same page. We want to get in a sense, though, all seriousness, they are going to look at all the things that can go wrong. Well, I'm telling them, here's all the reasons why we should do this. They're telling me, well, here's what can go wrong. And then we want to try and negotiate to be able to get the deal done. Once we do, because it's an SBA loan, we send it to the SBA, not that it needs to be underwritten by the SBA, but we just have to send it to them to get their stamp on it for their SBA, that they're going to guarantee it 75%. And then we go to when we close. So it kind of flows downwards. And then on the right-hand side, I talk about what we need to process an application. So, and I threw a lot of this out there already, business plan, 3-year financial projections, last 3-year tax returns, personal and business, if you have an existing business. Again, if you have an existing business, we're going to ask for financial statements. And also I'm going to ask you to complete a personal financial statement. That's where you're basically going to list your assets for everything you own, and your liabilities or everything you own. So if you have a car and you have a loan against it, how much do you think the car is worth? That's an asset. Your loan balance is a liability. I think the last couple slides, I give some examples. 2 different examples of loans that I closed recently. I could probably provide a couple other ones, but I'll start with these 2. So this one was for a commercial kitchen equipment sales and service company. So when you think of like a McDonald's or Wendy's restaurant, they sell the kitchen equipment to places like that, and McDonald's is one of their customers. Then they also go and service it. If the owner of McDonald's calls them and says, our stove isn't working, then they go on and they fix it. So that's what they do, sell, and service for kitchen equipment. And they were buying another company that does the same. So this was an expansion for them to do so. The business they were buying was on sale for $1 million. It included the real estate where they were located, it was $250,000. And then in the business they were buying was $750,000. We did a loan of $1,050,000. So my borrowers showed up at the closing table with no money. So they bought this business. They didn't have to take any cash to it. We used SBA 7A, and we also gave them a $50,000 SBA Express loan. And the $50,000 that's above and beyond the $1 million for the business that was for sale was to cover closing costs. So when I say they showed up and didn't have to pay anything, they run to cover the purchase of the business and the closing. The second example, the restaurant, it's actually a restaurant downtown Pittsburgh. We did a $600,000 loan for them. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This one is in, up north of Pittsburgh, I'm sorry. But we did a $600,000 loan and a $50,000 line of credit. Interesting thing about this loan is the business that they acquired. So this was a family of 4, a husband and wife, their daughter, and the daughter's husband. Were buying this restaurant. They did not have like direct restaurant experience, but between the 4 of them, we were able to piece together some very good, relevant experience. I think the mom, is a couple of Airbnb. The daughter had marketing experience. The husband, I forget exactly what his day job was, but he had good experience to bring to the table. And they communicated that through their business plan. Here's what each one of us bring to the table. Here's what our role will be in a restaurant. The restaurant also had, let's say 15 employees or so, 10 to 15 employees. They were retaining all the employees and the chef. So it was kind of a turnkey for them. But when I said it was interesting, the restaurant was in the community for a long time, but they weren't showing the profit. For whatever reason, sellers, it's a lot of businesses that we deal with, don't want to show profits, they don't want to pay taxes. So with the restaurant, they pull a lot of the cash out before it even hits the books. Well, now that's fine and dandy until you either need a loan or want to sell your business. Because now we said, the restaurant's not profitable, but because there's real estate in the transaction, we'll finance the real estate, but not the business or the business assets. So the seller had to do a $200,000 seller's note to cover the business assets. And then the buyers had money to put into the transaction that essentially went towards the liquor license. So our $600,000 loan it covered the acquisition price for the real estate, $200,000 seller's note covered the business assets, the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. $100,000 covered the liquor license. And then there was also some bailed out funds as well. I think $100,000 was bailed out. All in all, it's running.
How did that get covered?
So 600 from us, 200 from the seller. So that's 8. And then the buyers put in 2. And that's how we got to $1 million total project.
But that could be put in for the business part.
Nope. So our 600,000 for the real estate, the sellers noted 200,000, bought all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 200,000 from the buyers bought the liquor license, and they did $100,000 in improvements to the real estate.
Okay,
Make sense?
I'm still missing something. So the business was 600,000,
Real estate,
the real estate was 600, got it,
yep, real estate was 6.
got it, okay,
Yep, real estate was 6, the business was 2, we'll call it.
got it,
The business, when I say FF&E, that's the business.
right,
So the business was 200,000, 100,000 for liquor license, 100,000 for improvements.
got it.
So we just funded the real estate in this transaction. We call it a restart.
Is this, like, what is this solar, is that their money, if you're, like the money that you said?
Good question. I'm glad you asked. I threw that out there. I don't know, who may know or don't know what I mean when I say sellers know. So essentially, the seller, so the person that, if I currently own Wilkinsburg Market, and I'm selling it to you or to her, that I'm the seller. If I'm asking $100,000, but the bank says they're only gonna fund 90,000, and I do a 10% seller's note, so for $10,000, that's gonna be a second loan that you have that will pay me back. So that's gonna be $10,000 that the bank's not financing,
So they would have to pay back the bank and pay back the person.
and pay back the seller. Yeah. So you would sign a seller's note or promissory note, a seller's promissory note
How that is?
with the seller. No, that's a good question.
So, what do you, how much does the, income have to be in comparison to, like, the loan payments, like, can you borrow against, like, what, 70% of the income of the business, or?
Good, another great question, because I gotta explain how we look at that. So if you want to write this down, when you apply for a business loan, one of the most important ratios or measurements that we look at is called a debt service coverage ratio. DSCR. Debt service coverage ratio essentially is going to be, and this is a very simplified example, but hopefully it'll help you to get it. If you're borrowing $50,000 and the loan payment is $1,000 a month, you annualize that, or you say over the course of 1 year, what's the total amount that you're paying back? $12,000, right? So 1,000 times 2,000. If your business net revenue is, I always use the example of $15,000. So at the end of the 2023, if you made $15,000, we take the $15,000 that you made divided by what our proposed loan payment of $12,000 is going to be. And it's going to equal 1.25. 1.25 is like a target ratio that most banks look at for debt service coverage, which essentially says for every dollar that came in, you have $1.25 to go towards that loan. So you have enough, you're making enough money, that cash flows. That can get you a yes. If you made $12,000 in 2023, and our loan payment over the course of a year is $12,000, divide 12,000 by 12,000 is going to be 1. So you're breaking even, but like a Bridge Rate Capital may consider a 1-to-1 debt service coverage ratio, depending on the project. Most banks would not. And then if it's less than 1, then you shouldn't even want the loan, because you're not going to be able to pay it back based upon your cash flow.
So, what is that, like a 25% profit margin for the business, like the 1.25, is that kind of what that is?
I think so. I did some math just to figure that out. I mean, 25% seems like a lot. It's a good question. I'd have to, if you take 15,000 minus 12,000 and then divide that by 12,000, you get, I have my phone. They take 15,000 minus 12,000, it's gonna be 3,000, which 3,000 divided by 12,000.
What's 3,000 divided by 12,000?
Yeah. It'll give you a decimal probably. Yep, so you take that by 100, it's 25% profit margin. Yep. Any other question? I don't think I have any more slides, but I'm happy to, answer any questions. I don't know how much time. I think 47.
Yes. That 1.25, does that have to be for the total overhead or just for the loans, like 25% over what the loan is, or the total overhead, including the loan?
The 1.25 is going to be, that's just looking at the loan, it's looking at your net income. Right about. If you have other loans, you have to consider that. That's why I gave a simple example. So, in the one share, you can cause that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have another loan, so if you come to me, you have a business loan and you want to apply for a loan with me, we have to consider, and we're not paying that loan off, we have to consider that loan as well. But we can get real calm. We can have a whole hour, 2 hour session just talking about debt service coverage, but I just tried to keep it simple.
So do you see anyone ever selling a business that's well and above that 1.25
Absolutely.
ratio, and you guys are just like fight right through it?
Yeah, 1.25 is like the minimum threshold.
Okay.
So for instance, there's certain scenarios where we might want to see a 1.4. Generally, if it's over 1.4, that's great cash flow. Don't necessarily mean though that we're going to just slide it right through though, just because there's a number of other factors that go into a business loan. In general, it gets the first pass, cash flow is good. But we want to look at, credit of the personal credit, with the industry of the loan, or industry of the business. I mean, there's a number of other things that.
So in that case, you wouldn't necessarily need a business plan, someone's purchasing a business, you would just want to see them more have experience in that industry already.
So in some cases, we may want to see a business plan never hurts. Let me say it that way. But it may not be required in this case. You're buying it. It never hurts. I mean, I learn about what you're looking to do. I learn about you. I learn about your future plans. When you're buying a business, yeah, you may not have to write me a formal business plan, but I'm still going to ask you, like, what's your plans for operating this business? Let's say you're currently working a job. Are you going to continue working at that job while you run this business, or at a certain point, do you plan to just work full time in this business? When you buy a business, sometimes the owner is paying himself. So there might be income that you can walk right into now taking over as the owner. But in general, we want to understand your plan. So if you don't if you don't provide me a full-blown business plan, I'll still probably say in an email, just shoot me a paragraph, explain to me, like, what's your operational plan so that I can communicate that? How do you plan to run this business when you take it over?
So, okay.
How do you determine if somebody can actually operate a business? Now, I heard you say that, you have the industry experience, but, say I work a job, maybe let's just go virtual customer service. I want to buy this business for $10,000 because I was a customer service rep for 15 years. Actually doing the job and actually owning a business. So is there like a part of your assessment that says she will be a good business owner, even though she never owned a business, she just, she has experience, but she may have never ran a business. How would I determine that portion?
Yeah, so it's gonna be, I'm gonna try and bring that out through resume and bio. But in general, we like when you're buying a business and something we really like if you buy a business where you come. Those are generally the plus. Yeah, it's hard though. I mean, it's hard to say exactly how someone is going to perform by buying a business if they don't have direct experience in ownership and management. So I may ask or try and bring out like, what are you going to use to help complement your skill set? You know what the business is, you know customer service. But if you have employees, what are you going to do to help you with management until you get comfortable or get more experience in management? That might be, well, I'm gonna have a HR representative as a team member of mine, or somebody I can call on.
This person will have to come with like a strong business plan. with it, like,
Exactly, yeah, just kind of just detail, like, what's your plan to help fill in your, where you have holes, how are you gonna fill that in?
Yeah, so it's just like, you know, I don't think there's a criteria, because it's just like someone starting a business. All the bank wants to know is that you're committed and that you hopefully have a wherewithal, because there's no one out there that knows how to run a business until they start running a business.
Yep.
Right, there's no magic pill for it. I gotta go, that's why I didn't do it for a long time, right? I gotta do some school you can go to or some book you can read. But no, it's just, you get in there, it's as if you were starting a business. They have to believe that if you put up your house, you're gonna you're gonna do everything you can to make it work. But on the flip side, if it doesn't work, that's not totally a negative, right? That just wasn't for you, or you didn't learn fast enough when you ran out of money. So none of us really, if you look at most successful, because we only see them once they get successful, they've already gone through 5 to 7 businesses that didn't work for them. But they learned, they kept going, and now they get to one where now, hey, this one now, I finally got it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I'm just curious.
Mhm.
Thank y'all.
No, thank you.
So, one other thing before you leave, and this is a quick explanation. So I brought one up off of business by itself. And this is just so you can see, like, when I'm looking at a business and a little bit of what the bank does, and you can correct me as we go along, it's just, I'm looking from a novice point of view, I don't care what the revenue is, right? That could be $10 million. I'm looking, what are they asking for and how much is the cash flow? Because the cash flow has to pay this loan back and it has to pay me what I need to pay, right? So this is all the profit. This is after everyone else gets paid, this is what's left, right? So I gotta make sure that there's enough there. So if this was 1.5 million, as long as I know whatever that loan came in at, that I can pay this loan and pay me, that's what you look at from the cash flow. And that's,
Chief Gordon,
yeah,
we can't see what you're seeing. It's still on his slides where it says questions. I can't see what you're talking about.
okay. Did I close that? Maybe not, I don't know.
Share that screen.
What do you see now?
It's a building with an asking price.
Yeah, that's where we're supposed to be. So you see the $765,000, and you see the cash flow for 303. So I know that this is a little over a 2.3%, 2.5% ratio above the cash flow is what they're asking for. I'm losing the word right now. But that's kind of what you look at, right? So if it was 1.5 million, as long as the whatever the debt service, and the debt service is what the bank is asking for the $1.5 million, right? 1.5 million plus the interest is the debt service. I gotta make sure that $300,000 can cover that and cover me if we don't grow anything. I'm just talking about if I walk in today and I start running this business and we don't grow, do I have enough money to pay the bank back and pay me? So that's kind of, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Right, so that's what you look at, when you're looking at a business, right? You're looking at the cash flow and looking at how much they're asking for to make sure that the debt service can be covered and pay you what you want. So if I'm looking to make $100,000 out of this transaction, I know this is probably gonna work, it's $765,000, I may have to pay, let's say I had to pay $120,000 back to the bank, right? And I paid myself $100,000, that's $220,000, right? Or whatever the number I said. I still got another 100,000, or not 100,000, but 80,000 to work with to grow the business. Now, it doesn't always work out like that. That's pretty low as far as the cash flow with your actions. So you do see some that's more, right? And what they call is a multiple. That's a little over a 2% multiple. Some are 5%. You know, if you're talking about SaaS, that could be 8-9% of a multiple. So even though it's $300,000, they may ask for $2 million for the business. And so what Aaron was saying is that there's no difference between you buying an existing business and someone walking in that's going to start a business. What they want to know, what this whole class has been trying to say is, I have some knowledge of what this is. Whether it's a totally different business than what you were doing before, they want you to be in line with what you were doing because it's going to be an easy transition. Because when the challenges come, and they do come, at least you don't have to worry about doing the hair in the salon, right? At least you can get that done. Everything else you got to work. But if you got to do the hair, you don't know how to do the hair, and you got to run the business, then that makes it a little more challenging. It doesn't say you can't do it, but from a risk factor, the bank is saying, wait, we gotta think about this. They have neither one of the actions, right? Most of the people that go into business, that buy a business, don't know how to run a business. Have never run a business. Would you agree with that, most people?
Or don't have direct experience running the business.
Right.
You want to see that they have some relevant experience, but they never ran a business.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what, they're all looking for when you're talking about buying a business or getting a loan to start a business. And I think at the beginning of the class, I said, something to think about. We talk about, because there's no difference between buying a business and starting a business from this platform, right? They both take the same type of skills. You still got to go through understanding the marketing, cash flow. You still got to understand your personal realm and what all that's about, right? To make sure you're in the line when you walk in there, you have the conversation. So even if you go to buy a business and don't need a business plan, if you don't even understand the questions that he's asking, there's a challenge there, right? Because this is a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. When you're buying a business too, this is how the business is currently performing. You want to understand, is there anything that may be impacting the current performance of the business that you can change and make it perform better? So the current cash flow is 303.62. Is there anything that you can do to improve that? And that's something you want to communicate to me as your lender as well. Something you want to think about just for your own personal cash flow.
Is there a way to, like, if we're looking on one of these platforms, searching for businesses, is there a way to like filter them out before we even hit you up about it? Like, what type of like financial statements are you gonna want to see from that business when?
Yeah, so that goes back to the business broker. So there's gonna be a broker assigned to the business. That's who you reach out to obtain the financial statements.
Right. So if you look on this one,
Oh, so the broker already has one on the statement.
broker has everything, right? And I would say go here first. And the only reason why I say that is if you don't know what you want, because you'll see a lot of different businesses. Two, even if you have a certain business that you want to buy, I would really go here first, because if you call a business broker, they only have those businesses, right? They don't have so this is a site where, like, they have all the business, not all the business for sale, but they have a lot of business for sale. So you can see the different brokers, because as you move down on here, biz, B-I-Z, buy, sell.
Is this one local? Did you start like Pittsburgh?
This is Pennsylvania. I didn't pick anyone on this one.
But this.
As you can see, the brokers on here, what company they go for Murphy's Business, right? It also has a little bit more information. This is the owner is selling the business and began transition to retirement. So this is probably a very, very good business, but he's just ready to go. Like, these businesses aren't on here aren't bad businesses. There was one guy that came on here, he's in New York. And he called me and said, you know, I seen your name or got your name from this site. And his is more health problems. Like, it just happened, cancer. He's ready to go. Like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
A couple of things is he don't have, well, the kids don't want it. He didn't, most of us, like I told you all before, you gotta think of, as you enter, you gotta think about an exit plan. Because most people don't think about an exit plan until it's too late. So they get to the point where they're ready to retire or sell, and they didn't position their business to sell. Or think about a transition that is one of the employees good enough for me to transition this business over to? Let me bring somebody in to train them because we never think we're gonna leave this business. Would you say that's one of the issues?
Yeah, as a business owner, you want to think about your succession plan. You as wanting to buy a business, think about just the fact that there's a number of, when I say baby boomer, like this person's looking to retire. There's a number of business owners that are looking to get out of their business for various reasons. And they have long-term businesses that paid them for 20, 30 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And their kids don't want to buy them.
Right.
Or take them over.
You know, you got divorce, you guys want to move to another place. There's all types of things that make this happen, which they have nothing to do with the business per se. Very good business, stable, well-known in the community. And so I'm glad Aaron hit on that, and I think I shared this with you all before. Like, if you can, this is one of the best ways to go because you're buying cash flow. Imagine being able to get this. The SBA is providing 90%. The owner is going to do 10%. Plus, they're going to give you working capital. You can walk in and get $100,000 in your pocket. And I'm just saying that as an example. Some of you require more. Some of you, hey, if you get to that, that's awesome. The business is already there. They already have people there who are trained, because another big thing is you got to train people for your business. That's the challenging thing. They already got the people. So the only businesses I look at, they got to have employees, right? They got to have the cash flow that's going to make sure that I get paid what I need, the bank gets paid what it needs, something that I can sit down and really think about to grow. The market is already there. They've been in business. Let's see this one, like, they got a lot of stuff up there, but I think it said how long it was in business. Sometimes,
In the better the broker, the more information like this you get to.
right.
And one other point I just thought of, I didn't mention, we require 10% equity injection for acquiring a business. We require 20%, and then I'm speaking about Northwest, other banks can be different. But we require 20% if you want to start a business. Meaning, if you want to start a business and your startup costs are $100,000, instead of 90, we're only going to put 90. So again, we see the benefit of funding business acquisition versus startup. When I was at Bridgeway Capital, I didn't know anything about this. I dealt mainly with startups or existing businesses. I didn't learn about business acquisitions until I got into this role, because the majority of SBA, or the majority of business acquisitions are funded by SBA. So that's when I started looking, like, I can go out and try and make relationships with brokers, so that whenever they have it, they would need funded, they would come to me for funding. But yeah, there's definitely an emphasis on funding a business acquisition versus a startup.
Yeah. And I think I might just vote for this one, I ain't see, so this one is. As a cellular business specializing in unique niche, this stained glass company serves various clients, including architects, commercial companies, government agencies, churches, and individuals. Their comprehensive services range from designing and manufacturing new stained glass windows to expertly restoring historical pieces. Now, understand, you're not going in here buying a job, you're buying a business, so you don't have to do all of this. When you're buying a business, the main thing you should think about is how do I manage people? How do I manage systems? Not how am I gonna go ahead and turn a wrench? Because if you're doing that, you're just buying a job. It also says, notably, the business has over $1.2 million in sold jobs already to begin that a new owner would benefit from. So it already has $1.2 million of business that you're walking into. So you don't even have to worry about marketing that part when you first start. That's what made me say, I'm gonna take a little deeper dive into it.
And a work in progress. With.
And the owner, like a lot of times, these owners, they will help you to the nth degree because they don't want their reputation tarnished. They don't want to see their employee, they'd rather work with you because a lot of times corporate type people come in and buy these companies and they kind of tear them apart, right? Fire the wrong people. These are people that, and it's bad sometimes because, especially in small towns when that happens, like the owner feels so bad, but then the owner looked at as a bad person. Because how can you let this company come in here and rip this company apart? Now I gotta walk past you every day and I ain't got no job.
I think it said on there, you do 4 weeks of training.
Yeah, yeah. And probably as much as you need, right?
One last thing, I think that would be pretty soon. One last thing I'll say though, is you don't always have to buy 100% of the business. We do finance partial partner buyouts or partial buyouts. Yeah, so if you want to have the owner, if the owner wants to stay on with a 10-20%, they may have the person guarantee if they're at 20%. You can go and buy 90, 80, whatever percent business, whatever percent. You don't have to buy 100%.
I know not 100%, I just wasn't sure how the SBA was on that.
Their rule just changed in August of 2000.
I'm saying, you only paid for me today.
So in August 2023, the SBA will fund partial buyouts.
Because they wouldn't do that before.
No. So someone can say, I'm talking to a doctor's office right now. I think the doctor's like 80 years old. He wants to sell his business, but he'll stay on with 90%. He'll probably work until past his way.
Here's the other thing. And I say this all the time, I only learned this about consulting. Most people that got into business really didn't want to get into business. What I mean by that is, they were an accountant, they were good, they needed help. So they brought their friend in. And both of them were good, so they needed more help. And at a certain point, they realized, wait a minute, I gotta worry about my payroll, I gotta worry about this time. That's not why they got into business.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they're willing to sell to someone who can manage and run the business, and they will stay on and work and be your best employee. But they really didn't want the problem of managing the business, payroll, of accounting, of worrying about taxes. There's a lot of business owners that like that. You're ready to transition, not necessarily to leave the business. They just don't want to run the day to day. And I've talked to a number of those people when I was looking for a business. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you inviting me up. Mark, any last questions for, I would say for the whole class, and I have to pick my son. I'm trying to.
It's all good. So any other questions?
Hey, Gordon, are you gonna email us the presentation so we can have his contact information?
Yes.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All right, what y'all saying?
It's the sponsors
Sponsors.
page.
All right, cool, we're good then. So, did y'all enjoy that?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm excited again. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the SBDC, first steps business course. And this guy was better than the guy they brought.
Yeah. I did that for PIC, their first step and second step. So one thing real quick, I just wanted to bring up, how did everybody enjoy last week? The credit. So, if anybody, besides Jordan, she was talking to Jordan class. Maybe not Jordan, that was you yesterday. What did she do at the middle of her class that we talked about in marketing?
She had a share on social media.
She had every one of y'all follow her and then say, do you know how many people now know about her because of you? For free. I was just like, she did kill them. She was like, they ain't want no further until y'all follow me or something. Right? So I just wanted to bring that up. Like, these things work, and you gotta be thinking about, how do I get people to market for me? How do I get people to, show up? So that is very free. And that's why I say, hey, if you notice, she did that through her personal page, not through her business page. Business pages are good to send somebody at some point in time, but to really get engagement, the business page, for most people, is the page to go. You gotta do so much work to get people there. Right? But your personal page, if you see her, she's always sharing stuff, she's talking about credit, she's talking about people she's helped, like that goes a long way. Plus, once she gets you to her personal page, now she's had you forever. And you can see everything she does. If she takes you to Credit Power LLC, then you're not gonna see the other businesses that she has and what she's doing with other people. Right? So it's something to think about. And yeah, it is good to have a business page. I only got a business page so I can do ads when I was doing ads, but I got more out of the personal page. That's why I say that's the one you need to be professional on. That's the one you need to be engaging people, and that's the one where you have people tagging, right? And expand your market through. If you got 5,000 people, you should maximize those 5,000 people. That when you post something, you tag them.
So is it not good to have a personal page for your business? Because you can have a personal page for your business.
Correct, you can.
It's just you won't get the ads right. That's different.
Correct, you can. If there's some reason why you don't need to.
So that's what I had a personal page for my business because it was easier to get more people to follow the man's marketing personally than it was for the business page. Because I had both at once and more people was following the personal than they was the business.
Correct.
So I just got rid of the business because it was just sitting there for like 2 followers. And then I had like hundreds of personal followers.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept that one.
Yeah, I mean, you can do whichever way you want, right? Like, there's no real thing one way or the other. I probably, and this is only for me because it was consulting, right? With the credit repair, I would just use one because, depending on how you engage on Facebook, then you begin to have 2 different pages that you gotta jump between, right? Like, there's nothing on my page right now, I stopped stripping when I was, a couple years ago, so I don't have to worry about that. So everything is good on there, right? So, but I say that from just because again, when I would go on some young lady's page, like it was crazy. And I just had to say, like, you can choose whatever you want, but when people engage with you, they usually engage with you and then your business. Not your business, then you. Everyone in here, when you send me your information, I went online to see who you are. Right? When you are engaging in a network place, usually people are going to go to see who you are. Because they remember you. Who is this person? Not that they're looking for anything negative, that's just how we engage today. If I go in there, I don't see a LinkedIn page, I'm like, well, where's this person at?
So you're saying we should cross post?
You can if you're good at that. Not everyone is good at that, right? Not everyone is savvy in the social network. That's why I say if you're not, then get one so that you become good at that. And then once you get that, then you can maneuver into all the other things.
Yeah, that's the way that I did it. I thought it was pretty successful. Like my personal page, I probably have like 4,000 followers or something. But then my business page, it was taking a long time to grow. Like right now I have like 1.5 thousand, something like that. But like today I posted on my business page, I made a video, by the way. But then I just shared it on my personal page. And so like my business page on Facebook, it automatically goes to Instagram too. And so then my personal Facebook automatically goes to Instagram. So if I share my business stuff on my personal page, it kind of hits all three platforms. That was helpful for me.
Cool. All right, so we're going to get into some of the stuff we talked about today, just so you understand, like, there's no real science to all this. When you talk about projections, like, people get kind of wrapped around what is projection. It's just that you're projecting out what your business is going to do, because we know that you don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But if you can explain, hey, here's what I plan on doing, and it's not out of space, then they look at that and say, okay, here's how yes, that seems doable. Right? If you're just starting out and you're selling, some small budget item, or let's say you're just doing the CPR, right? Let's say $100 a thing, but you're projecting in the third month, you're going to be making $1 million. No, that don't even sound. No, like if you don't even know your numbers. Like I'm not giving you no money for that. That's nothing. But if you say, hey, look, in 3 months, I'm going to be doing 5,000. Here's how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to grow, 2% every month over that. And I understand that in October, that's a low month for my business because this, and this, right? That's how we look at that when you talk about projections. So learn how cash flow management impacts a small business, understand how to use the bank loans, provide information on startup cash, operations cash, and owner's control. It just seems like this screen got dark. It just got bigger. So again, this is another part of building this foundation, this house. So the next 2 parts is cash flow planning and operations. So this is a little cookie jar exercise that they have one. Some of these it does gotta take out this old now. But what it talks about is if you were to cash on hand in your pocket plus $10 in the cookie jar, but you spend $11. So you took $10 out, but you spend $11, you already know you're $1 short, right? What did you do to go over budget? So we know Tuesday, we're already $1 short. So every day we're gonna take $10 out of the cookie jar, right? Every day we're taking $10 out of the cookie jar. So Tuesday, we already know we're $1 short. We take $10 out, but we spend $12, now we're $3 in the hole. Wednesday, we're $3 short, $10 out, we only spend $3. So now we know we're $4 to the good. And it goes on and on and on. So that's kind of how that works. It's just showing you something simple for cash management. Cash is the fuel that powers a business. Cash flow is a phrase used to describe the movement of cash in and out of a business. Cash flow specifically addresses timing, when cash moves in and out of the business, amounts, how much cash moves in and out of the business, sources, where cash comes from, usage, where cash goes, and relationships. Relationships of business activity to producing or using cash. So when we're talking about sources and uses, and a lot of times when you go to a bank, they're gonna ask you, and this is something that Aaron said, he's gonna ask, what do you need the money for? Right, so you say you need $100,000. What do you need it for? So it might be equipment, inventory, working capital. And then so once you get that, you say, okay, where are we gonna get this money from? Right, so you may be putting some money, we may go to ABC Bank, we may go to the WCDC, they may have a couple dollars. You know, where are all the places that we're gonna go to kind of get money for this startup business or whatever it's for, right? So what is working capital?
Money that you use for your expenses.
Money that's invested,
Money that's invested.
it's like producing income.
So when we think about working capital, here's one use. One, let's say you were a startup, right? And we know it's gonna take really probably 90 to 180 days for this thing to really ramp up, right? For us to really understand what we're doing and really making some decent money. At least that's our projections. So the question is, how are you gonna pay yourself from that day one to the 6 months for you to get ramped up? So one of the things you gotta think about is working capital. The reason why he said we give people $50,000 of working capital is because you need that time that you may have to employ your employees, that you may have to pay yourself, that, you know, that goes into getting you to where you're, you know, really revving up on your capital. So that's what working capital is for. And it may be enough money to pay off the loan for the next couple of months. So always think about working capital and always think about paying yourself. Now, you can't walk in, depending on what the thing is, and say, I'm gonna pay myself $10,000 a month. Right? And that may be out of scope. But if you're walking in there and you were already making $20,000 a month, then that's not, and yeah, absolutely. You need to, you know, maybe even more than that. So when I tell people, like, when you go out to get a loan and really talk about this, you need to know how much money you need. So understanding all the uses, all the money you need. If it comes to $1 million, it's $1 million. But don't shortchange yourself. You need $50,000, $100,000 of working capital. You put it in there and let the bank or whatever these other places say, all right, we need to wind that back. So cash, wants, and needs, right? People have wants, businesses have needs. As we talked about earlier, right? In the second class, second week, we talked about that Cadillac truck, right? We know we need a pickup, but do we need a Cadillac Escalade pickup? Right? You may want a Cadillac Escalade pickup, but then you actually need it. Do you have the funding for it? Now, if you have the money in it, hey, go for it. So when we talk about cash flow, and there's one of these in your book, it's talking about cash flow projection, right? So when you're really thinking about projection, especially if you're a startup, you want to think about everything that there is, again, that you need to start up, right? If it's a restaurant and you need, you know, refrigeration, if you need a stove, if you need, your inventory of food, whatever you need, it needs to go into startup, so we know exactly how much we need to start up our business. And then it says April, like how much money are you gonna need in April? And how much are you projecting to make your first month? Let's call it your first month. Right, let's not call it April, let's call it your first month. Right? So that you understand and the bank understand, okay, the first month, the reason why I need this extra working capital is because this first month, I know I'm not gonna be making that much money. We're just opening our doors, we're just starting to get our marketing together. So as an example, we could say, if it's a coffee shop, all right, our first month, we may only make $5,000. But now, after our second month, we may make, 5,500. Maybe 6,000 in the third month. Now we're starting to get our momentum, right? So by the seventh month, we may be at our target $10,000 a month. But we know from a bank's point of view, you're not going to start out making $10,000 a month. In most cases, right? So that's how we begin to start looking at the cash flow projections. Cash out for goods, right? How much are you gonna pay for your food, your coffee, your supplies? How much is the wages gonna be, the telephone, the lights, like putting all that in there so you know your expenses. And then you also wanna know, okay, in September for this coffee shop, I know that's my highest month because we got a couple of football games that are here in the area and a lot of people come in every year. So I know I'm gonna need extra capital for that month because I know that month is our big month. That's when you start looking at cash flow and how that. Right? Yes.
You say you're sending us this? You're sending us this PowerPoint?
It's in your board.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how true they are, but some of them seem pretty, realistic. Did people are starting to post, their cash flow, like the one guy that owned the Subway, and he said, everybody thinks I have all this money because I own this, Subway shop. And he did basically that, and he's like, this is what I come home with, but people don't understand that. But, a couple other people in businesses are, like people that own a laundromat, they're talking about things like that. And it's actually interesting because it's talking about the real expenses that we wouldn't know if you don't own that business.
So I had a good friend. He owned 3 McDonald's. And he showed the breakdown. And after all of the stuff he had to pay, he only made 2% out of all of that. He showed because you gotta pay for your marketing, you gotta pay for all of the expenses as far as food and all that. He had one out in the airport. He had one out in Moon, and there was one somewhere else. But he showed, like, people think, because you own McDonald's, you're making a lot of money, but you're really not. Out of his 3, they made $150,000.
So what, that's per month?
No,
That's for the year.
for the year.
Yeah, that's what most banks make, right? Like 1%.
I'm not sure exactly what they make, but the people in the bank don't make nothing, but the owners in the bank, that's probably, they probably make way more than that, on some of those. But yeah, to your point, that's the cash flow, right? You begin to see the real deal, like, no, this is serious, like, you need to understand how so for that business we've seen, and they could be making $300,000 a year, $303,000 a year. Out of 7, they got 6 employees and their revenue was only 700,000 or something. That is big to be making that much money on that. So they got a nice thing going on. Right? and still pocketed a lot of money. So again, projecting startup costs, how much cash you need, really think about, the website design, getting inventory, if you need office furniture, computers. Sometimes you can donate that stuff. Like there's all types of things that you can do when you're starting up. But I always tell people, even if you're donating, put everything down new. So you know really how much it actually costs to start your business. And what you're gonna need if that thing, breaks down, how much money you're gonna need for it. Cost of goods sold. So this is more in manufacturing and doing products and anything, right? It's a little hard when you're talking about like consulting services and different things like this. But cost of goods sold is a variable cost, but that's only what it costs to make the product. So if you're talking about the labor to make this cup, right? The materials, the freight, and everything to make the cup. If you're talking about the people you're using to sell the cup, that's what cost of goods sold is. Everything that goes into making the product. Which the other piece is, right? So that's the cost of goods sold. Then we got the expenses. So your secretary is an expense. That is not a part of the cost of goods sold. Right? All of your overhead for the place. Unless it's that, so if it's a manufacturing place, say the manufacturing place is on the other side and that office over there, over here is all the office stuff, right? Where all the managers are and everything else, right? All that stuff over here is expense. Everything over there is part of cost of goods sold. So this is more something for your accountant to really take care of, and they'll tell you all this stuff, but so you understand what is cost of goods sold. And many times you're not even in this thing, right? The owner is not even in the expense. You only come up after everyone else gets paid. So example, right, the rent or mortgage, that's the cost of, that's an expense. Insurance, utilities, office supplies, office staff. So even if you have a manager over there, they are not essential to building that cup. They are an expense, not a part of cost of goods sold. So sales projection, like this is most difficult to project your sales revenue. And we just talked about that, right? But it must be realistic, and there's so many different ways to get it now, especially with ChatGPT. You just put in what is kind of the sales projections for manufacturing that cup. They can come up with something, right? Pricing, market, seasonality, break even. You see, the big thing is about starting a business and acquiring one is a lot of that stuff right there is already done. Like you don't have to go through the challenge of understanding the pricing, the market, seasonality, all of that stuff. That stuff has already been done. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop here. We're going to finish up, not next week. Remember, next week I won't be here. Neither will you. Now, if you do come, that's okay, but I won't be here. I will be in Alabama at a conference. So then we'll come back, not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, and we'll finish up the cash flow, because here's the meat of cash flow. And why I asked you to get those numbers for how much you want to make, how much you need, because this is what will start to bring that out. And why you have to know your numbers. Your numbers is the most important thing in your business. All right? Any questions?
Can you go back and go? Yeah.
We know about captives,
Who?
captive insurance,
Captive?
yes. Like, it's, there's insurance companies that will supply, like supplemental insurance for your own insurance company. So once your company gets so big, then you start your own insurance company, so that you're assessing your own risk, and all the premiums that you're paying into it actually still yours. And then whatever, if you're investing that money within that captive, then you get the returns on that. So that's like when they're mentioning that, how can you, you know, if what is it, not the revenue, the net income, what was it called?
Cash flow.
The cash flow is like a little low, whatever, you know, whether it's one ratio, and how are you going to improve that after you got, you got your own capital, and be like, in a big way, right? And it costs a lot.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that, because I'm not quite understanding
Yeah.
what it is. Any other questions? Comments? All right, cool, we done. Everybody thanks? Oh, one more thing before you say that, one more thing. Our graduation will be June 25th. To Tuesday, 6 well, at 6. At Sherwood Event Center. So I'll be sending everyone the information, but I just wanted you to know it's June 25th. It'll be this class and then the fall class will be together. So, great question. You can bring your family, friends, or whatever, just send me an email, how many people, because I need to understand how much food I need to order.
You get a cap and down.
You can get a thousand dollars if you want. I'm afraid you will not be the one. That,
You got, yeah.
yeah,
So now you're fine.
got it right.
I haven't did it so long.
Okay, yes.
You know what? We're working on the. We had $2.
But I mean, not too much.
It's, I mean, she's helping me as much as she can. Stuff like that.
All right, let's do it.
I work for,
Did y'all finish?
Yeah.
Are you good?
I've been just trying to figure out. Yeah, I'll slow going.
More keychain. Okay, yeah, okay, so yeah, whenever you guys are ready, I have classes scheduled and my website is on there and.
Yeah, what I did.
So you have to get my call.
Oh, gosh.
Huh?
Go ahead, how are you?
Yeah.
Just once. Yeah.
And I'm somebody.
All right.
Are you bringing us an insurance?
Okay.
I know insurance is described in this, SBA.
Be like, no. Well, we in, this, next week, right? No, not here. Not next week, yeah. We're doing for review of the graduation on, I say, all right, something on. There was a need for that. I know. You're like, I'm looking at the first roof space. It's just not fair.
You know,
I'm not gonna be. It is to me, I said that. I can see some, never do anything.
Right.
They travel.
Do what?
No, they don't.
If I can find those goals. All, but it should have everything except for the social media for it.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
I would take something I received from someone. So you can let me know what they think.
okay, for sub orders.
It's me.
Okay.
Thank you.
First to come, last to leave.
Uh,
First to come, last to leave. Thank you.
all right, Ms. Jordan. All right, thank you.
Thank you.